Hi soul friends, it's Amy Anam Cara, and today I have a beautiful interview with Amelia Vogler. Amelia is a beautiful energy practitioner and a healer and just a really beautiful soul. So I hope that you enjoy this video. I do want to say one thing. I had a couple of tech glitches. So you won't see my face, but you'll definitely see Amelia, and she's the star of the interview, so that's okay. And the end is a little abrupt. I had to do a little bit of cutting on something, but all in all, it's just a really, really beautiful video, and I hope that you will enjoy it. So, on with the show. So, hello, everybody. This is Amy Anam Cara, and welcome to another one of my fun interviews. Today, I have a really, really special guest today. I have Amelia Vogler with us. Hi, Amelia.
Hey, Amy.
How you doing?
I'm great. Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be in conversation with you.
Yeah, so we're going to have a conversation today about grounding. But before we get started, I just want to give you a little bit of background on Amelia. I have her bio here, and
I'm going to blush. So that always happens. So if you see me
right? I know. When anybody ever asks me to do a bio, it's like, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna make you a little bit uncomfortable.
No problem.
Okay, so Amelia is a grounding and energy medicine specialist, internationally respected teacher of energy medicine. She's a life coach and meditation guide, and your meditations are amazing, by the way. She embeds essential energetic practices into her meditations and teaching to support the betterment of humanity. And her goal is to help individuals who don't feel whole reclaim their parts of themselves that have felt lost. In addition to her teaching and meditation work, she has an international private practice. In her 15-year career, she has helped over 7,000 individuals repattern or transform self-limiting negative beliefs through grounding practices, intuitive insight, and advanced energy medicine. So welcome, Amelia.
Thank you, Amy. You didn't tell him I worked at the grocery store for a while.
And Amelia used to live in Connecticut for a little tiny bit. So she's done all kinds of stuff, right? You've done all kinds of stuff. I don't want to seem like stalky to you, but I've listened to a lot of videos, a lot of video interviews with you. So I kind of know like a lot of your background.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
Stalk away. It's in public domain. You probably know more than I do in any given time.
Well, I'm really, it's really actually interesting because you say as a child you were sensitive. That's how you characterize yourself, as sensitive. And then you ended up in a career that's very I guess I want to say square, almost like, you were an engineer, right?
Yep.
And then you went to energy work.
Yep.
How the heck you go from being an engineer to energy healing?
Well, it's such a cool story, and I think we all have this story in us, like just acknowledging the river that has brought us from, our origin to now, thinking about all those choices that we had made. And, we just are who we are. And I think that river is going to lead us where we are in most alignment if we listen to it, or in my case, if you just get so darn miserable, you start looking for something else. So I was born with these sensitivities, but nobody knows how to raise a child with a lot of sensitivities. Well, maybe somebody does, but my parents did not. And so the messages I kind of got growing up were go to school, learn to read. I'm really dyslexic. So I had a lot of learning challenges trying to assimilate all this data in the way that my brain worked, which is more around stories and storytelling. And I had a high aptitude in engineering because I'm really keen at architecture work. Like what holds things and what are the connection points, and energy medicine's a lot like that in some cases. Like I work with soul soul is a template, energy is a template. And what we want to do together when we're working is understand what's keeping us from highest resonance with that greater template of who we are. So, and what are those little connection points that we can create, establish, nurture, grow, expand. So in some ways, it was a lot the same. It was just I was working for a company. And this is really funny because my teammates and my bosses knew that when I was very intuitive. And so sometimes I'd be in these meetings and I would go, this just isn't going to work. I just know I can see how this is in its fullness. And the way we're getting at it isn't going to work. And I was vocal about that because in some ways I would see the whole and reverse engineer my way back. And that's what we do in healing too, is we see you whole and then we reverse engineer what's going on. So, and a lot of patterns show up. I'm a big pattern finder in people's lives. And so in some ways it was the same skill set, just in a really different environment.
So I know what was the catalyst, I guess, was you had some health concerns. You were suffering from severe migraines.
That's right.
And you did what you could medically, and someone suggested this person to go to this healer, this energy. Was she Healing Touch?
She was Healing Touch. Yeah. Yeah. She was trained by Janet and was one of the early instructors.
Wow, what a gift. And then she said to you, oh, you know what? You should probably be doing this. And you were like, what is that? I know what that's like, to be confronted with the truth, right? Yeah. So what was that like to unwind your engineer career and move into something like this?
Oh, it was scary as hell.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, it was so scary. I mean, I was working at one of the number one companies in the world to work for. I had golden handcuffs that were, like corporate jet, great parties, big salaries, little short work weeks, wonderful people. And there was a part of me that was going quiet there. And I just remember really feeling like I'm dead inside in this environment. And then you're right. This wonderful woman named Sally took me under her wing in the healing arts world. And she nurtured that in a very tough love kind of way. Like you're saying, I'm not going to treat you anymore. You need to go take the first class. And I was like, oh, Sally, just fix me. I want to go do my life.
Right.
And she said, I really think that you have an aptitude in this, that it might be worth exploring. And so between these two worlds, when I came back from that first class, I started practicing at the office, and I'd be in meetings and be like, your back looks stiff. Let me try this thing. Hey, you look like you have a headache. Can I work on you? Hey, da 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 da. So in one view, it was that environment that was deadening me. And in the other, that environment was also allowing me an opportunity to see, hey, there's more of me that can fit in my employment and in my job. And I don't even think of what I do now as a job or work. It's just sort of an extension of who I am. But yeah, it was so scary. And my husband, let me just say, I've never told anybody this, but my husband did not make that transition any easier. The day I quit that job, I put my badge on the desk, walked out, and he said, all right, I'm taking you on vacation. You really need to go on vacation. And I thought, this is great. And then he asked me to marry him. And I was like, whoa, wait, one major transition at a time.
Right.
Please. And I said, yes, I'd love to marry you, but I need a very long engagement period, because I just knew, like, I'm not someone that jumps out of something and into something else. And I had to just navigate that. But I thought, oh my God, this is so sneaky.
Yeah. That's awesome. I kind of had a very similar parallel in that I'm working for an organization and I'm going through healing touch as well. I'm in the mentor phase, and my job allows me to practice on my coworkers.
Yeah.
And it's such a gift. I mean, such a gift. So greatly appreciated and appreciative of the help and the support, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I felt like I did some of my greatest learning working on people in the office too, because it was so well boundaried. And really, I could just get in that space for such a short time, release totally from outcome, not have to describe anything, just let the energy do its thing. And then they would go, ah, damn, I feel better. Okay, I'm going back to my meetings. And it was like, it just seeded so many confirmations in my consciousness in those short little, what I call mini sessions. And it's just, I think it's really important that we all understand how powerful it is to be a healing presence. Like, it's our presence. It's our space that we hold. It's not always just the way we move our hands. That's really secondary, So regardless of where we are, bus, train, work, office, bathroom, like, healing is there with us.
Mm-hmm. So I can remember a time when I had just finished level 1, and I was coming home from Pennsylvania, and I had to stop off in a train station. I had to get on a train. And so I was in the train station, and I happened to, pick up a conversation with somebody, which is very, very usual for me. I just will talk to anybody. And it was this older woman, and she was saying, talking about her trip, and she was saying that her knee was kind of bothering her. And in the middle of the train station, I said, can I try a little something on you? And she said, sure. And so there I am in the middle of the train station, and there's all kinds of people walking by, and I got in there and did my work, and it was pretty awesome to be able to have had that opportunity, because I don't know, it was just, I wasn't afraid to do it. I wasn't self-conscious anymore about it. I was finally like authentic with all of this.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's talk about your grounding work.
Okay.
So, everybody talks about grounding.
Yeah.
Grounding. And people say, close your eyes, imagine roots growing into the ground. And it's kind of like this kind of same language. What is grounding? What is grounding?
Well, it's a series of things. For, in my perspective, it's, it's both a state, it's a noun and a verb. So it's practices, it's doing different grounding practices, or it's a state of being grounded. Mm-hmm. And we can think of it in a lot of different ways. We can think of it grounding in our physical self, like grounding with the earth, which is really more like earthing practices, and I think there's some funny stuff in the world about how we language around grounding, because I think a lot of people say grounding, but they mean earthing. Mm-hmm. When you just take your shoes off, or you put, your bare skin on the ground to try to get that electromagnetic and the negative ions from the ground to kind of nourish the physical body. And there's super great research around the positive health effects of grounding in that way. But there's also grounding our mental body, our emotional body. So like when our mind is racing, that's a sort of a symptom of being ungrounded. And so how do we ground our mental body or our emotional body when we're highly triggered? How do we ground our emotional body so that we can be sort of feeling, but not overtaken by our feelings? And then there's spiritual grounding practices where, sometimes we're disconnected from spirit or inspiration, or we're not feeling our creativity. So being grounded in the divine is another aspect. And then there's grounding the energy system, which is likened to that that meditation that you were just referring to, which is, connecting to Mother Earth below, but also connecting to the inspiration of spirit above. So while all those provide their own little definition of grounding, I have a different one. I think of grounding as when we're most aligned with our authentic self. So just what we've been talking about in our conversation, seeking out our ability to be and be okay with that, whatever that is. I love Brene Brown's work, being daring and courageous, and, the courage to speak up, to be weird, to be yourself. There's deep grounding in that. And so my work sits in what keeps us from that. And specifically, I like to look at early childhood attachment wounding, because none of us got what we needed when we were children. It's impossible.
Right.
We have two busy parents, or one parent, or an adopted parent, and there's just so much we can do while holding space for someone to grow up in their own authentic identity. And so I like to look at what early life messages did we receive, and maybe it wasn't spoken messages, but just nonverbal, verbal, physical messages did we receive that maybe we encoded at that soul space level that says, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not okay. Mm-hmm. And to be grounded is to find ourselves in that space where we know no matter what, we're okay. Wow. And that's the view that I take.
So, so where did this interest in grounding come from for you?
Oh, because I was the least grounded person on the planet. You can ask Sally. Even this over this weekend, it's just a bit after my birthday, and we had a really nice lunch, and she brought me this really beautiful agate stone that was like tempered with gold and platinum and silver. It's really phenomenal. But she had reached out to the woman who curated and collected these kind of fine, interesting stones. Mm-hmm. And she said to the lady, well, it's for this really special lady. She's turning 42. She's, a gifted healer. And sometimes she's had trouble in the past staying grounded. So, so I think we kind of find the medicine we need, and then we take it long enough that we really start understanding it. And, attachment, early childhood attachment stuff, like I have quite a lot of stories around that, just from how I was raised. And I think they too my childhood gave me the vision to see some of this and the consciousness to be able to evaluate it. And really, it's been so slow. I couldn't tell you the moment, like, yeah, this is when it started. It just, our practices and the space we hold just evolves and evolves. And then one day I kind of said, hey, I think this is really, I have a lot of success with my clients, and it's not me, it's them. But It just seems like I could hold that space well enough, or maybe even well, that they could find themselves again and find the light in them and find the home in them and find like the sturdiness of going out in the world in an authentic way. And so I don't know if that was like too long an answer, but now kind of long.
Okay, so what happens in these sessions? Are you doing energy work on them? Is it talk therapy? What's happening here?
Well, it's definitely not talk therapy, because I'm not a therapist by any stretch. And I'm really, I really stay well boundaried in that. That's really important to me. I do, like, this is kind of interesting. I set up what would you call it? I don't know onboarding. I mean, that's the geeky marketing word, but like whatever that process is when you start the process of working with somebody and you make sure we're a good fit to work with. So I have a conversation with every single one of my clients before we work together to make sure I feel comfortable working with their story, because if it feels out of scope to me, or I'm getting intuitively like this doesn't feel right, like I really listen to that. I always ask questions like, sometimes we do talk about the first 7 years of our lives. Are you comfortable talking about that? Like, I'm not hiding behind any kind of doorways. Like, a lot of these attachment wounds do happen when we're little. And so if you're not able to talk about when you're little, then I'm probably not the first person. Let's go to somebody first that allows. And so just like many energy people, we have sort of an intake session where, and that's the same. My sessions are typically 2 hours long. In the first hour, I like to listen to your story. And I'm not listening like a therapist. I'm listening to the energy. I listen to how it feels in my body when they're telling me the story, and I take notes. I'm listening to the words they speak and the words I hear, and write that down. And I listen for patterns. And we just kind of flow between story and energy, and story and energy, and we go together. And when we're in that kind of like exploration, one of the things I always say is I really, if something comes up that I want to check out with them, I say something like, I'm hearing something, but I'd like to offer it with like a 30-foot pole between us, because I don't want you to think I'm telling you your truth, because so if what I say is like a miss, let's just keep going. And sometimes, when I hear things, that opens the door to something else and to something else. And so the first part is like this intuitive dance, super gentle, lots of space, very loving. And then we usually find that core pattern, and then we work with that energetically for the second part of the session. And I work in the hara. It's an energy dimension that feeds into the chakra system, and it's kind of like the system of the soul. And so it's where those patterns sit that keep us from ourselves. So the chakra system's more like our system of everyday issues. Of course, our issues kind of sometimes feed from these deeper overlays, but that's kind of the process from beginning to end. And what's interesting about energetic memory is that, our energy field carries everything, right? We have this huge recording device always running, but it when we are ready to let go of something, it doesn't get deleted from the memory, but it does get quieted. It kind of gets pushed down and back, not like suppressed, but just like it's not floating at a level that's disturbing us anymore. And so that's kind of the process. When we work with these patterns, we repattern them, and then they're not noisy anymore in that recorded memory box or memory tape. So I think that's very interesting, the way it works, because a lot of times people come from those sessions and I say, well, that feeling, that experience, that energy experience, because kind of somatic, richly somatic also, I'll say, well, how, what are you noticing when you try to feel that again? And they go, I can't find it. And it's not because it's replaced. It's just because it's no longer active.
Right.
Yeah. I can't find it, or it feels a lot further. It's not charged, these sort of things. Yeah.
So did you come up with this technique yourself? It was just something that was revealed to you and you just said, this feels right to me?
Well, I studied the hara with a few different teachers. And so I have kind of taken what has been interesting and nourishing from some of those. I've let go of some of it too. There's a lady that works with the cabling of the hara. I don't ever work with that. That didn't really stick for me. and then I had never taken a class specific to attachment wounds, but I started noticing like, if I do this, this really, and I have had a lot of trauma informed uh,
Mhm.
training and also a lot of somatic training.
Mhm.
So working with the sensations of the body is part of my scope of practice. And so at any rate, it was sort of learned and sort of adapted and then sort of came through, which I guess is how we bring through everything. There's nothing really original in the world, which I
Right.
think is kind of interesting. It's all there.
Right. And you're just pulling
Yeah, like this little
what
bit,
works.
this little bit, this little bit, and then alchemizing it with our own individual capacities to
Right.
hold space.
Right. I like that. That's nice. Let me see, what else do you have? Okay, so I'm going to ask a question that you said that you've never been asked before, and that is, and maybe you even already answered it, but what does grounding have to do with the human energy system? And I think it's everything.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really do. I think because we're energetic beings, and even if we were just take that connection to the planet, energy to energy, and nourishing through those negative ions and that exchange of energy, that's one form. And then the energy of spirit and our own energy system. And then, like our soul, that's really what we're grounding to. When we come out in the world and there is a tragedy in front of us, it's how we're in relationship with ourselves and our own soul energy and expression that allows us to feel either resources or uncomfortable or ungrounded.
Mhm.
And so I really feel like when we talk about grounding, what we are speaking an energetic language.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious for myself, but what do you do to ground yourself?
Oh, nothing. No, just kidding. It's so hard. No, just kidding. I garden. I love to garden. I
So
love to take walks. I try to walk every day outside. I try to get out every single day and be in nature in some capacity, even if it's just a trip to the mailbox and an acknowledgement of all the flowers along the way. But I do try to get a little more in than that. And then with the exception of the few years past with COVID, I do try to take really long walks once or twice a year, like over 100 miles on foreign soil. And I
wow.
love to see the world in the pace of a footstep. And I love to walk, like they're called through hikes, where you're walking from one place to another, to another, to another, and you're just seeing the
So where are
world.
you going this year?
This year I have a lot of trips because they've all gotten rescheduled.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll be at the end of June in Germany and Switzerland with my husband, which is
Nice.
we're doing like an anniversary trip. And then a couple weeks later, I'll be in Austria.
Wow.
And then in the fall, I'm going to go walk the streets of Paris with a good friend.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
really neat. And you do that just for yourself. This isn't through your business.
No. Well, the trip to Austria is with one of my teachers.
Okay.
So she and I are she likes to walk too. So we go together and we're
Yep.
going to go to Wales next year and do a walk. So that is because she's a teacher, we just do healing work. And one day I'd love to take small groups on some of these walks. I think that would be so beautiful and interesting. And then it comes with all those questions like, what happens if somebody falls? Like I'm
Right,
very
right, right, right.
practical. So I hope that I can take people on a longer walk, maybe not 100 miles, maybe 50, 40.
Yeah, that
you
sounds
know?
awesome though.
So, but I
Yeah.
think just getting our body out in nature is just, and eating good food. I try to eat really clean food and filter the water and laugh, be with my friends,
Mhm.
all those things, be with my family.
So grounding is not getting up on top of a mountain and, you know, doing that, right? It's really so accessible at any moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it can be this if you have the mountain available, right?
Right.
But it's also like, it's just a choice. It's just a choice to take the time that you need when you need it, to be able to recognize in your own self, like, I'm feeling contracted.
Yeah.
Like, how do I need a little space. Like, okay, well, share with my husband, and just need a little space right now. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm also like an 8:30 p.m. bedtime person.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
every night. I
Yeah.
wish,
I'm early.
but
I'm early to bed. Yeah.
I think honoring our own personal cycles is also just so critical in keeping
Right.
ourselves just healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and that can help us reach to the resources that are better grounded in us.
Right.
So
I know we have
lovely interview.
thank you so much, Amelia, for coming. I really appreciate it. This was great. So how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, well, Amy, thank you first for our time, and thank you for reaching out to me. It was like such a fun conversation, and I told some stories that I don't normally tell. So
Yay!
thank you for holding that space that I could bring a little more of myself to others. That always feels good. Yeah, if you're interested in my work, you can find me on Instagram, Amelia Vogler _healing. You can catch me on my website, ameliavogler.com. And if you're interested in one of my meditations, I'd love to gift you one. So why don't you head over to ameliavogler.com/Amy Lane, and we'll get you set up with something nourishing for your body.
So amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that kind of good stuff. I got to say that, right?
Yeah.
And I know. And again, Amelia, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.